Ladies and gents, beauties and binfluencers, welcome to episode 93 of Thompsin and Other Disappointments, a usually twice a week show in which I jump into the cruel and crushing worlds of politics, academia, media, comedy, and, let's be honest, pant-soiling dystopian lunacy. My guest this week is an old friend from the London comedy circuit, when I used to do a bit of stand-up. I first saw him at a place called TNT Comedy in Kentish Town, probably around 2012, maybe 2013-ish. But since then, he's forged a career performing stand-up across the UK and on places like Radio 4 and 1Extra, all the while doubling as an MC with now 4 albums up on Spotify from 2008's Mental Disorder right through to last year's Grimefulness. Please welcome my guest to the show, Joe Jacobs. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for doing just a tiny bit of research into me. I was actually astonished that you managed to be accurate.
I mean, it was literally the tiniest bit of research I could squeeze in between being a dad and my day job. But yes,
well, that's more than most people manage.
Oh, really?
With my music stuff, yeah.
What's the worst then? Have you had people like go, "Welcome to the show"? Like, was James J? What?
Well, I just feel like you're speaking to me after I did a show in Bath to a bunch of people who were definitely all over 50, and I forced them to listen to hip hop.
Did they get into
rap and grime? Really hard to say, but that's always the challenge. That's what I enjoy doing, subjecting people to music against their will.
Yes, yeah.
Because I wasn't getting an audience the traditional route.
I see.
Because UK rap is a big old slog, as you know.
Yes. Well, I just dipped my toe in it. I didn't do it to the same extent and depth that you have.
Wish I did.
Why is it like I've always been fascinated by acts that are sort of what's the word, like multi-hyphenate? So you're not just a comedian, you're not just a rapper, you're not just a social media content provider and all that stuff. You dip your toe into a lot of different stuff. So where does the where is the actual passion sort of laying? Like, do you want to be a rapper? Do you want to be a comedian? Or do you not see them as sort of distinctly different? You actually quite like melding them all together?
Well, it's a good question. The answer always changes. I mean, shit, if I could be like a top-selling, amazing rapper, like Stormzy level, yeah. Jesus, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Christ, that'd be lovely. That's never going to happen. So,
I don't know.
No, that's not going to happen. But being like an independent rap artist that can sell, a couple hundred vinyls when they drop an album, that'd be lovely. That's what I'm going for at the moment. Just a little audience that like what I do, consistently dropping stuff. That's about it, man. That's something achievable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Life has a way of remeasuring your expectations, shall we say?
Yeah.
No, but like also with comedy, I feel like there's a lot more longevity and potential as a comedian to do whatever it is you want. If you're pigeonholed as a rapper, that's going to be a bit tricky. I'm so thankful I'm able to perform on stages as a comedian and put music into it. Because if I was just relying on the rap side of it and those kind of shows, I think I'd be in a bit of trouble.
Is it that sort of defined then and deliberate that like almost comedy is the pension plan? So start off with the rap, which is kind of inarguably a young person's game, right? It's youth culture fundamentally. So then if rap doesn't pan out, you can always kind of, step up on the stage and...
Well, kind of. I mean, it wasn't planned, but yeah, pretty much that's what's happening. But comedy is a terrible pension plan. Should actually get a real pension plan. That's a proper pension plan. But
this is the thing. Like you've picked 2 industries that are going through a really rough time and are incredibly difficult to make it in.
Yep.
So I guess there's a risk there that even when the comedy's going well, then the rap might kind of kick you in the arse. So do you ever like have a good day, have a good week where you're like, yeah,
I do. This is probably not a good answer in that it's quite it suggests a lot, but I had a really good proactive period during the first COVID lockdown. I wrote my next album, and it's definitely say it's my favorite thing I've ever done, but I say that for every album. But this one it just came so easy. It was so much fun to do. And the new stuff I'm trying to write is actually, it's been a lot harder to do since everything's come back in full force, because I just didn't have that focus that I did when everything was shut down. That anxiety that was there when the world was up and running. You know what I mean? But to answer what you said about focusing on one or the other, I do think rap is a young man's game, and I did a little radio documentary about that very thing, and it kind of changed my opinions about it towards the end, because I was very much in the camp that, like, if you don't make it quick enough, you know, you're kind of some old head and you're a bit dusty and irrelevant, and that's depressing and sad, which can be true for some people. But I also think times are changing, and the way the internet culture is and the way people consume things, I think there's room for everybody and all types of acts. Like, my favorite rappers, a lot of them are old as fuck. You know, Danny Brown, Rock Marciano, these are old dudes. And I think you can gain a lot more wisdom and you get better at your craft as you age. So if you have an open mind, you'll find good artists of all ages. And I think it's a shame that rap has that negative trait, because, like, if you look at other genres of music, some of the oldest dudes going are like at the peak of their game, you know. And I also find it quite funny to think of myself still making rap albums at like 50 odd. I find that is pretty comedic.
But it's,
you know
kind
what I
of
mean? Like,
I suppose it's like what you're tapping into is a similar thing to kind of like Weird Al Yankovic, right? And hear me out on this, because like where you kind of overlap a bit of like humorist comedic kind of content to your rap, and like inarguably there's a big overlap with you know, what, like punchlines and the obsession over phrasing things in just the right way with comedy and rap. So if you go down the route of kind of a lot of the time light-hearted, uplifting, funny rap, then you kind of carve out a niche where the age thing actually isn't that important anymore. And in a similar way to people like Weird Al Yankovic, kind of like doesn't matter almost how old he gets, he's always going to be able to sell out a theatre, because there's always going to be people who'll be like, yeah, I fucking love that guy, that's his thing, he's a bit of a piss taker, you know. Yeah,
it's tricky though, because I wouldn't say I'm obviously Weird Al's like a genius, but I wouldn't say that I don't do comedy rap. I might do rap that's comedic at times, because I feel like there's not much replay value. Excuse me. Dusty.
Bless you.
Thank you. There's not much replay value in a song that's strictly played for laughs. You know, it has to be good on its own terms, and then you'll have repeat listens, you know.
Yeah.
That's why Flight of the Conchords, they made quite good music first, and it was just funny. So it had a bit more replay value.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to kind of play it all live, because I sometimes I just do full on rap songs, or sometimes I do a stand-up set with no music and just see how I feel about all of it. But
yeah, because when I first saw you at like TNT, and like back in the you were sort of standing up for like King Gong slots and stuff back then.
Yeah.
Like back then you were just doing like, it was stand up, and then separate to that it was the Jester Jacobs rap stuff. I didn't see much overlap, but now you're kind of combining them a lot more, right?
Yeah, no, that was because when I started doing stand up was around the time Doc Brown was on the Apollo, getting big. So I remember as like a fledgling open mic act seeing that, and I was like, well, that's me fucked then, isn't it? I can't.
You felt like he had cornered your thing, or?
Obviously there's room for everyone, but at that exact moment in time, me being the kind of shit comedian I was with this other stuff in my back pocket, I felt like, you know, as wrong as it might have been wrong to think that, but I was like, I can't really do what this man's doing. Like, it's just a bite if I'm just trying to integrate rap into stand-up in that way. So instead, I just solely focused on being a good stand-up, like, you know, for all that time, and got good at that. And then the music eventually found its way in kind of really by mistake, and just over time it just sort of happened organically. And I still haven't found the right way to, like, an efficient way to get music into my stand-up sets. There isn't one. Like, I'll experiment, I'll write music, and I'll find a chunk of a song that could work, or think of an idea that could work. I'll write the song, record it, fucking learn it, then try it on stage. And 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't pop off properly, I won't use it again. It's a very arduous task. But when something does work properly and it makes the cut, it's great.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. But
I can see that, because it's kind of like, so my perspective of kind of musical comedy acts, and I'm sure you can correct me on this, but I felt like there was either really good ones or there was really fucking abysmal ones. Like at the sort of level that I was pitching in at was like, you know, occasionally headlining like an open mic night, or very occasionally getting like a semi-pro paid thing. But whenever I saw like quote unquote musical acts, it was usually some sort of, you know, divorcee holding a ukulele with a couple of like, you know, like rhyming bum with like thumb, or so, you know, and you're just like, is this comedy? Because it feels like you're just rhyming like the occasional rude word, but there's still a return sort of comedic value in it. Like the audience would enjoy it, but I always felt like it was like an easy way,
cheating.
Yeah, of getting.
Well, I can tell you as a musical comedian that it certainly is cheating.
Is it?
100%. Yeah.
I'm glad that you said that, because I was thinking, here he comes, he's going to fucking, you know, spank my ass for this. But
man, I'm telling you now, musical comedy is cheating. If you're on a stand-up stage or in a stand-up space doing musical comedy, it's cheating, because it engineers responses from the audience that might not otherwise be earned. And you could be the most dog shit musical comic going, but if you make a song and dance about, tune in your guitar and like do a couple rhyming couplets with a swear word at the end as a big, you know, they're going to applaud. And they're kind of like, stage work is all about, it's like it's a conversation with the audience, you know, so they get their cues from this musical act who might stop for a punchline, and like when they finish the song we got to applaud. So yeah, it's cheating.
Yeah,
but that's why I'm glad that I had a bit of time to develop as a comic first and foremost, so that I could know that I have stage chops and I'm, you know, a good stand-up comedian in my own right before I bring in any other rap stuff. And the way I also combat the things that we discussed about kind of being a bit lazy and hack with the material and the music is, I don't tone down the rap side of it to make it more palatable, which is often to my detriment, really, because I rap at a normal pace. I don't slow down the lyric. I don't slow down the instrumental so that it can appease someone that might not listen to that kind of music. Like, the biggest issue I face is not being heard when I'm rapping, because we listen to rap, but people who don't listen to rap, it's just fucking noise to them and garbled words. They don't actually have a fucking clue things are being said.
Yeah.
Let alone like metaphors or clever imagery or lyricism. They can't even hear a fucking word that's being said. So sometimes that will cost me in a live show, because they won't know what the fuck's going on. But
especially if it's like a room full of like 50 pluses in Bath, right? Yeah,
but that said, those are the people that can often surprise you in this game. Like I learned that early on. Like you don't want to write off any audience, because they will surprise you. It can be the younger people that are stuck up and like, I'm not into this. Like an older person, I've seen them get really behind what I'm doing. But the main thing, I don't tone it down. I kind of keep the same cadence and speed of any other rapper. So sometimes it can be hard to pick up all the things I'm doing there. But hopefully, if you can, then it's, you know, more rewarding than if I was just some twat with a ukulele singing about Tinder or whatever it is. Man, I remember those days. They were great times with the old ukulele comics.
Yeah. I don't want to be too judgy or like twatty to them, but that was my sense of it, was like what? Why are you sort of leaning on the ukulele when you could be writing a new thing that's actually has some craft and you're writing into it? But there's probably layers to it that I'm just unaware of, because I never really bothered to look into it.
There's no layers to the ukulele comedy. There isn't.
Devastating critique.
And it is you're leaning into it because it's crutch, isn't it, to have a ukulele? I'd say. But
here's a question for you, right? I don't know if this would be so much of an issue now because you're kind of re-melding the musical and the comedy together into one live performance, but have you had situations where, because you're Jester Jacobs the rapper but also Joe Jacobs the comedian, then people find you on Spotify as the rapper, buy tickets for your comedy show thinking that they're going to go and see this rapper and a grime night, and actually then they take a seat front and center and you're just doing jokes about fingering your asshole or something?
Well, yeah. Have you seen that routine? Yeah, good.
One of your best, yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't know if I think that sort of stuff has happened in all kinds of different ways, and there's really nothing I can fucking do about it. Like, but it's no different to when I've like put up work in progress preview.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to work through new material, and I remember I had one of them in Angel, and I had like my agent at the time came, and people who knew me from rap came to see that, and it was genuinely, I still shudder at how much of an awful performance it was for about 50 minutes. Like, it was fucking bad, man. It was real bad.
The rarely heard negative side to like building a following. It's like,
yeah, well, you'll get this all from me. I can't bother to lie about.
Yeah,
I'll tell you the reality. It was a fucking shit show, and it's tough because, yeah, probably for that reason, people think, oh yeah, Jester might drop some bars. No, he's going to just die on his ass for 50 minutes trying to work out a new show. And I know for a fact that a couple of the rappers that were there, they've never been to any show I've done since.
Really?
And my agent at the time no longer represents me. It probably contributed to it. Really, it was a good show.
Yeah.
But
I've
yeah,
had some fucking stinkers. I mean, we can talk about bad gigs for sure. Like, I did a Leicester Square theatre show where I came away from that thinking, I'm the fucking Don, Joe. Like, I've fucking nailed this shit. I filmed my own special. I was like wheeling off all of the cliches that people do when they haven't actually got an agent. They haven't attracted any industry support. Yeah. What they do is they say, I've done it with no industry backing. So I was saying all that stuff. I was so full of my own ego. And then I went up to the Fringe and did 10 nights there and died on my ass for all 10. I was just like, this is like being force-fed fucking humble pie sandwich covered in shit. Just awful. I did just the Tonic up in Edinburgh as well, like guested on there. Did the exact same routine I was doing at Leicester Square Theatre, smashing it, and up there just died on my, like, got audibly booed, Joe. I was like, fuck, man.
Fuck, yeah, no, I know. I remember you knocking around in those times, and yeah, putting out your specials and everything. And I've been there. I know what it's like to really, really push it, especially in the beginning. You just want to really push what you're doing, push it hard.
Yeah,
but I feel like we both learned the same lessons. I think you can't rush this game. You just gotta. There's no shortcuts. You just gotta fucking do it.
Yeah.
Some people get lucky and they get a nice little boost or a little bit of career ascension. But if they're not good, they'll get found out later down the line. It just is what it is. You just gotta fucking plow on, and it's painful.
Yeah.
It's not always fun and games, and also, like, you think you're good years later, and you still have a fucking stinker on the way. You just don't know when. Believe me, there's always new couple. I mean, I did a show the other week. And just before the break, it's in some sort of chicken burger restaurant. That's also a comedy night.
Yeah.
Just before the break, someone just fucking yacked their chicken burger all over like the entire floor surrounding the whole comedy club. Because of COVID, the old aircon circulation really spread that around the room real nice, you know.
Yeah.
So I had that to contend with.
So what you're saying is it's not all glamour for Jester Jacobs yet.
Never. I'm waiting for the fucking glamour. I'm in a little B&B in Bath right now. It's not glamorous.
Yeah. It's an important point though that you raise about like sort of not moving too fast, too quickly. Like I always had it in my head around that time, and this was around 2014, maybe 2015. I just had it in my head, look, I'm with my girlfriend, we're probably going to have kids in the next like 2 or 3 years. If something's going to happen, then I need to hurry this shit along. And if nobody's going to give me the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, then I'm just going to have to fucking do it myself. And I had like friends of mine saying, I don't think you're ready. I think you sound quite mad, Aid. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway. And although there was some good like / great gigs, like really fun gigs, like now I look back on the footage of that Leicester Square show and I'm, you know, similar to how you probably look back on your old gigs. You look at the material and you're just like, oh man, like why did I think I was ready for that? Fuck that shit.
But you say that, but it's really tough to call because I like I said, I've been there. I'm amazed that I kind of escaped the open mic as I did, because when I think about those days right at the beginning and how shit I was shit probably, I would say I was shit for about 7 years. Probably. And it's amazing to me how I managed to jump ship and kind of get onto semi-pro work and pro lineups eventually and like all these things, because the only thing that did it was just sheer ego and envy, probably not talent. It was never talent that got me further, because I was blagging it the whole time.
Well, you like, say that, but let's peel the onion. Say,
what do you? All right, peel away.
So you say it's not talent. It's, you know, there's an element of ego to it, and thinking I'm gonna fucking get on the lineup at like Jongleurs, or I need to do this.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But
talent, there's a little bit of talent, but everyone can have talent. Talent doesn't matter. Everybody has talent.
Well, yes and no. Like there's, you know, for people who are listening to this, who have come off the back of my like political content and who are not so au fait with comedy, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of super ferociously average shit open micers out there that those agents and bookers would have had to just comb through and just find someone who's not fucking terrible. And there you are there saying, I want to be on the lineup at Jongleurs, I want to be on the lineup at Just the Tonic. And they watch your thing and you don't suck. And even though you personally now, in retrospect, are looking back at your old material and saying, that's a bit hack, that's a bit shit, actually at the time you were making people laugh and you were able to hold a room for the 10 important minutes where those hundreds, if not thousands of other acts failed dismally. So, you know, I don't think you should be too hard on yourself looking back at those times. I think you probably escaped the open mic circuit for a good reason.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but my point is more about like, because there are some people who, for whatever reason, stay in that circuit, and don't have the drive or the desire to think, actually, I fancy some money. I want to go to this club. Why aren't I on this bill? But they book this fucking. I'm better than this person, and that's how I was in those early days. That was what was driving me, just spite, mostly. The jokes can come later. The spite is here now. I need to be on that gig.
Spite star. Yeah.
But like, what I mean by talent is everybody has talent. I'm talking about, obviously there's dog shit acts. Yeah, but I'm not talking about them. They're everywhere. Like, you know, when you kind of get a little bit above a dog shit act, you have a bit of stagecraft, a few jokes. You've now got the talent to at least pull the wool over the eyes of a few audiences. You know, you can just do serviceable comedy. That's talent now. Now you have the talent for comedy. It's about where you take it and what you do with it. And, you know, I'm sure you've seen some of the most talented people, they aren't where they should be. And you have to say, why is that? And I think it's because it's not a fair game. It never was.
No.
It is what you make it. So then when I see you doing your special and saying no industry back in, like, I can relate, because if you don't toot your own horn at that time, who the fuck else is going to do it? No one.
Yeah, I mean, so like my goal around that time was just to get some sort of agent and to be able to make, like, I don't think I was under any illusion at the time that it could be some super well paid, you know, like rock star style career. But I just thought, if I could just get an agent who got me, like, you know, 2 or 3 pro slots a month, and then I could do, like, you know, reviewing the papers for a radio station as well, like get a little bit freelancery about it and just have some income coming in. I could quit my office job and then I would be sort of quote unquote a pro comic. But now I look back on that period and I'm like, I was nowhere near fucking ready. Yeah, I'm glad no agent picked me up, because that would have. Can you imagine having an agent when you're like, 4 years deep with, I don't know, objectively average material, and you'd probably die on your ass. Yeah.
I've seen it. I was just talking about it recently. Like, I'm glad that in the long run that didn't happen to me, even though I was really after that. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Fucking meal ticket, put me on all this dog shit. All these shows that nobody watches, please put me on them 4 years in. It would have been awful. You might never recover from something like that, because you get touted, you get all the work, and then if you don't have the talent or the material to back it up, what the fuck are you going to do? You're going to be naked.
Yeah, I used to say to Ashley Hayden, if he had a bad gig or he felt like, the room didn't get him or whatever, I used to say to him, the thing is about you is that you are like a sort of Doug Stanhope type figure. Like, you're never going to be like the Spice Girls or like, Phil Collins, like the pop star that everyone is like, oh my God, it's a Spice. But what you are is a sort of slow burn that will gradually build up this sort of following of people who will really, really love you. I don't know how far he's got with that, but that was my sense of it at the time. Was like, you can't beat yourself up too much, certainly on the London comedy circuit.
And surely isn't that a better result if you build up slowly over time, rather than getting a big rush at the beginning and then having to keep that consistency with whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough if you have a quick ascension rapid. I've seen it. Doing this long enough to see people come and go, get hyped, or people that other people wrote off are now like millionaires, tours, killing it. You just can't write anyone off. That's why it's quite an exciting game, because it is unfair in good ways and bad. Hopefully I'll get some set shit at some point and people will be furious about that. That'd be lovely. Fucking take anything. That's the dream.
All the right reasons.
Oh man, I'd love to sell out. Oh man, I'll do an advert for. What's the worst place to do an advert for? Bet365 or something. That would be bad.
Saudi Arabian Air, I guess, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'd do an advert for them.
Yeah,
I saw a tourist advert for Saudi Arabia the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, they're trying to get the tourism popping.
It's.
I'll give it a few more years personally.
Yeah, aspirational, I would say.
I'm doing some shows in Dubai in August for the first going to Dubai.
Nice. Looking forward to that.
I would never go there voluntarily. I'd go there professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
it. Yeah.
I just want to see it for myself.
I would go there.
Horrific.
But I get the feeling that it's not my sort of natural habitat, in the sense that, like, I like hot countries, but I don't know if I would want to live in a place that is like a desert with like every building's kind of clinical, and it just doesn't. It's not really my thing. Although my girlfriend's like her top of the list places for us to fuck off to if everything goes really bad in the UK are places like that. It's like Singapore or Dubai, like soulless clinical fucking like
Yeah, but you make some tax-free dough, no?
Well,
yeah. Stay there for a couple of years and come back.
I looked at Singapore a couple of years ago. I was like, could we live out here? But once you work out how much like the condo costs, and you'd probably want like a maid, because that's like the expat thing to do, get a maid, and then you don't have a car, but you do like there's other costs and stuff. Plus she wouldn't be working out there because she works in property over here. So to manage a property that's here over in Singapore, like she'd just have to palm that off. So she wouldn't be earning British pounds. She'd be basic. So I'd be the only earner. So I think we'd end up worse off. We definitely wouldn't be one of these couples that's like, we'll move over to Singapore and we'll earn some money for 3 years and then come back and pay off the mortgage, Joe. It just wouldn't happen like that, I don't think.
Yeah, all right. Probably stay away from Singapore.
Yeah. Also, like, I'm not saying I'm massively into drugs. I haven't taken drugs for years, but I like knowing that there's the option there. And I feel like if I went to Dubai or Singapore, I don't like that it's completely off the menu, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I want it to be my choice.
I'm scared of Yeah, someone planting something on me before I go to the airport because you go to jail for a spliff or whatever. I
Yeah.
remember the DJ Groove Rider, the drum and bass guy. He got sentenced to jail because they found a bit of weed and some porn DVDs.
Yeah.
Imagine doing
Is he?
time for a porn DVD, a DVD.
Yeah.
DVD.
I
This is
know.
in, so is streaming porn illegal in these places? Because I'm going to have to
I don't know. That's a good
address
question.
that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going over there and you haven't got some sort of VPN set up, maybe you need to look into that. Let's talk about politics for a second.
Okay, how do you get a lot of politically savvy people on here? Because I'm really not.
Yes and no.
All
Some
right, good.
people like to pretend that they're politically savvy and throw in a load of
Yeah.
cliches into the live chat, although we're not doing this live, so that's not an
Okay.
issue. But a lot of people are just sort of interested in what's going on in the news, and I know you're not
Yeah.
really a sort of political figure, but one of the singles that you put out, one of the videos that you put out a couple of years ago caught my eye, and it was sort of, I suppose, right at fever pitch time of Labour's anti-Semitism problem. Clearly, it was something that was on your mind around that time. I think, just from my perspective, I felt, and now in retrospect, I think I fell into that trap where I felt like, well, if I can't see the problem, then it couldn't possibly exist, right? Like that was kind of certainly in the early months of it arising. So what do I mean by that? Well, so Corbyn was Labour leader. There were suddenly all of these accusations of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party. And the easiest explanation to me, as a guy who has never really been party to any conversations around anti-Semitism, like with friends, with people down the pub, like I've heard every racial slur you can imagine thrown across pool tables, in joke, in hate, everything. But I could literally, like, hand on heart, I never heard a slur about a Jewish person. And so this idea that this progressive party was somehow hiding this huge anti-Semitism problem seemed far-fetched. And the more plausible explanation to me at that time was that that this was politicking, that they were using something that was really disgusting as a way of targeting the then Labour leader to cause disruption and so on. You obviously have a different perspective and a different life experience to me. And I sort of now see in retrospect how easy it is to fall into that bucket of people who are like, it's like the parallel to it is like the equivalent of the Tory voter who's like, what are you talking about? Petrol shortage. There's loads of petrol in my local petrol station. So like clearly none of the rest of you have a point. It's like that sort of attitude. Could you talk us through like what your experience was of that period? And
Well, first of all, I think it's really useful and positive that you kind of addressed your own maybe shortcomings in sort of seeing it. Because if people did that, then I don't think it would have been the situation it was. Because that was really, for me, the main takeaway from it. Because that's why when I say I'm not like politically minded, the reason for that is, man, I change my opinion maybe every hour. You know, I regret the shirt I put on in the morning and shit like that. You know, I would never back a politician like to the end. I think that's kind of weird. Like, I don't like groupthink and cult-like behavior of any kind. I like people to be individuals and think for themselves. You know what I mean? And what happened with Corbyn, really, before I knew of the history and the issue, I didn't like what I was seeing around the cultish behavior around this man and what he was going to do and how amazing he is and what, you know, what's possible with him. Because the second you start doing that with anybody, it's never going to end well, is it really? Because people are fallible, everybody's human, no one is perfect. I prefer people to just be honest and have integrity, and if they make mistakes, to just own them and be straightforward. And as the Corbyn thing unfolded, you kind of realize he was never going to do that on this issue. He was very stubborn. He was sort of, you know, he's thinking, I know best, you guys are wrong, Jews are wrong, blah, blah, blah. And there were so many issues around this guy and the people around him, the things that they'd said and done. I don't have to list them off. There's plenty out there. But people would be confronted with this evidence from Jewish people, from a concerned Jewish community, and they'll be like, well, no, I can't see that. No, that's not anti-Semitism. No, it's not anti-Semitic to big up an anti-Semitic mural. No, you're mistaken. Like, so it just gets to the point where you're just being shut down repeatedly by people who are claiming to be the virtuous, positive thinking, progressive types. And that's where the Jewish community found themselves. That's where I found myself, because I don't relate to anything the Tory government do. I'm not a Tory. I would be left leaning, I'd be all for being like a liberal lefty type person, but the people involved in the Corbyn movement, I didn't really recognize them as my kind at all. So I was just like a bit of an outsider from it. And I think the song you're referring to is the Joe and the Jews one, right? About the Jewish. Is it that?
I thought it was called AS. Did you abbreviate it to AS, or did you do two of them about a similar topic?
Was it the one with me playing different people?
Yeah, filmed in an underground car park. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're really narrowing that down. Not many rap videos are filmed there. But yeah, that's the song. So the reason for that was I kind of wanted to just do like just a very basic entry level explanation of what being a British Jew at the moment is like, so that someone could see it and think, oh, maybe I'm a bit like this left person, or I'm a bit like this right person, or I'm a little bit conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Because something I will say, Aid, is if I wasn't Jewish, the type of person I am, I could definitely see myself being anti-Semitic and like going down conspiracy wormholes and thinking, yeah, the fucking Rothschilds, man. These fucking guys, they control everything, of course. Because I can see how these attitudes are fostered.
Yeah.
Because everybody likes a scapegoat. Life is not fair. It's complex and doesn't make sense. It's natural to want to just say, well, if this wasn't happening, maybe we'd all have a fighting chance. And, Jews are seen as all-powerful, tentacle-like figures that control everything. It's a very convenient thing to suggest it. But unfortunately, I am a Jew. I'm on the inner circle, and I can categorically tell you there are no tentacles. There is no conspiracy. I wish there was, because it might fucking help my career. I could fucking use some. I could use some of that shit, but it doesn't exist.
I suppose it's like any conspiracy theory, isn't it? Like life is chaotic, as you say. It's unplanned, it's unpredictable and erratic and frustrating, and it can be infinitely more tempting to subscribe to this idea that someone somewhere behind the scenes is actually controlling it all, and that's what makes it so unfair. But as anyone that's ever worked for, like, let's say a large organization, like I've worked for about 3 or 4 big FTSE 100 companies, like banks, broadcasters, and they're run like fucking headless chickens, Joe. Like, it's just fucking chaos. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody can answer a straight question. People like mouth stuff to other people that they shouldn't do around the water cooler. Like, the idea that there would be this sort of, multinational conspiracy where this person conspires with this other group of people here to keep you in your place. Like, it's just, it's kind of fanciful.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that's fair enough. Like, you want to believe that shit, that's all good. I don't care. I watch dumb stuff on YouTube. It's cool, but the issue becomes when it sort of translates to real world stuff, like world thing. Just seems countless times, and there's so many explanations and examples I could give you of just anti-Semitism I've experienced. Like, it didn't start with the Corbyn era, but it's certainly ramped up at that time to levels never seen in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Never in my lifetime. I'm walking down, I lived in Finsbury Park at the time. I'm walking past Tesco's, and there's like a socialist stand with all these lights and Corbyn stuff, and there's like a swastika on a Star of David talking about Zionism, and I posted it up to Twitter, and all these Corbyn people were saying, like, are you trying to suggest Jeremy Corbyn is involved in this, or he support? No, I'm trying to suggest there's a fucking swastika in front of Tesco's, and that's not okay. Stop trying to defend your guy and just be human and say, actually, I'm sorry you saw that. That can't be pleasant. But there was that, and then more stuff happened. I experienced anti-Semitism, like it's happened fairly recently. The first time, like I was doing a show and I don't fucking know where I was, but someone, when I mentioned Jewish stuff, someone like in the front row did a Nazi salute, like kind of, he was just fucking around, like whatever, like, and that's fine. And then I carried on, whatever. And then after the show, the venue owner came over to me and he's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Would you like me to handle this, take care of this person?" I was like, "No, I don't give a fuck." But that was so surprising to me because it was the first time it's ever happened in like fucking 12 years of doing this. And then, then you start getting frustrated because it's like, if progressive people are so interested in like diversity and like making every voice count and listening and, you know, putting platforms for other people and all that shit, and what about the Jewish community? It's arguably one of the tiniest, most at-risk communities in history, if history is anything to go by. So why are those voices discounted?
Which is,
then you realize it's all fucking, the hypocrisy of it is ridiculous.
But it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's like when we talk about racism and oppression, typically we're thinking of, and again, hear me out on this, typically we're thinking of minorities who are living on the breadline or who have, like, I don't know, excrement smeared on the side of their house. It's more of a leap, I think, for some people to consider the Jewish community as racially oppressed or racially attacked because of this idea that all Jews are super well off, they're running businesses. Yeah, and
we're a homogenous group,
and it's another layer to that sort of to anti-Semitism and to racism more broadly, because if you quite rightly say, well, hang on a second, we're being targeted, we're being made to feel uncomfortable in our own communities, a lot of people would say, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you run doctors, you run this, what have you got to complain about? You seem to be doing all right, you know? And it's a sort of weird, like, inversion of attacking, isn't it?
It's a bizarre one because we're simultaneously seen to have all the privilege and then no privilege. You know, like a right-wing Nazi, proper Nazi, thinks that Jewish people are like biologically, genetically flawed, you know, and then the new lefty type people, they see Jews as top of the privilege chain, you know, so it's literally both simultaneously. And it's not helpful. I think the issue is really, I think a lot of race discourse, I feel like it's a bit of a red herring, because I think the issue, especially I'd say in Britain, it's always class. Class is the issue. That's where the real division and big problems are developing. It's not really about race. I have friends of all different kinds of races. We've always gotten, and never been an issue with that kind of thing. Obviously it's different around the country, but poverty and people making more money and other people having less and less, that always seems to be the case. That's the main thing that people are avoiding. Like, if you look at the comedy industry, for example, diversity is being, different voices and diverse opinions. It's kind of being pushed, but as always, it's kind of a very surface area thing, because like the real diversity of opinion and thought doesn't seem to be changing. Like, not hearing from, not that I want to, but like, you know, like the fucking mad right wing lot, they're not really seeing like the left leaning art, and working class voices. You get a few token acts that are like working class, but it's nowhere near enough. Like, there's a huge disparity of opinions in that area. Would you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And you sort of,
and I wouldn't care about that. I don't care about a lack of diverse voices or a lack of working class. I wouldn't care about it if they weren't making out that they're trying to, you know, address it when they're obviously not.
Yeah. So you bring my attention to a Leo Curse tweet, or maybe I'm thinking of a quote from his podcast or something, but I remember him saying in some format, some medium, I think he was talking about the BBC, and he was saying that the BBC, I'm paraphrasing here, but he was saying that the BBC need to stop patting themselves on the back for diversity when actually what they're doing is hiring people from different races and ethnic backgrounds, but actually these people tend to still come up the sort of Oxbridge route.
Of course.
And really, if we're talking about diversity and rebalancing things and getting people from different walks of life to share their life experiences, you need to get somebody from a council estate in Glasgow, or you need to get somebody from a mobile home park in Wales, and we never actually see that. Actually, what
absolutely right.
Yeah, is like what we tend to get is, as you say, a kind of token voice every now and then. You might get a well, I suppose Russell Brand's a good example of, stratospheric stardom, but
the thing to remember is the issue here is like, who is selecting these token voices? Who is the person that is deciding, all right, well, look, we need some diverse voices, some diverse type of people. Let's have this person, this person, this person, this person. And who is that person that's made those decisions? Because I'll tell you now, I'm about 90% sure it's some old white dude that's been in television for about 40 years or been booking whatever for 40 odd years.
Okay.
So where's the diversity in that, really? That's just another white dude, just a bit hidden in the background.
Here's a weird question for you. So
he's the tastemaker now. It's bullshit.
How would you feel if you were on a Radio 4 panel show, you were being booked for it, and then just when they were about to send through the confirmation to you, they gave you a call and they were like, actually, we've spoken to diversity department or whatever, and we're going to book in this person from this ethnic background, these three women, and this guy who's of this genetic makeup or is disabled or is working class, whatever. And you were about to get national fame and all the trimmings that comes with it, but then you see somebody actually took your spot who is not at the same level as you are. How that's an awkward thing to then manage, and that's the thing that like the right-wing tabloids and GB News always tap into. It's like, well, how actually shouldn't it be about booking the best comedian? Would you let that slide? Would you be like, yeah, I get it?
Well, that's happened to me.
Has it? Fucking hell.
Yeah. Let me find an email for you and I'll show you something. But to answer your question, how would it bother me? No, it wouldn't really bother me because I'm in a game where I get to tit about on stage for a living. I don't feel like I'm entitled to anything. I don't feel like I have earned anything or I deserve X. If I don't get it, 9 times out of 10, it's other people making these decisions for things that they run. That's why I remember when, what's his name? Konstantin kissing with his thing that he had to sign about doing the gig, like the behavioral code. I never really thought that was such a big deal because if you do a gig of any kind, whether you know it or not, you're agreeing to some sort of code of conduct. Don't be racist, don't offend X, try not to do material about this. Like, as an act, if you're halfway decent, you're going to be addressing an audience and thinking about how to approach each show individually on its own terms. So I don't have an issue with that. And as far as like being sidelined for a different voice or whatever, that's not my decision. It's not really not on me. I might be disappointed about it, sure, but it's just the way it is. And I don't think kicking off about it will make much difference. Let me try and find, I hope I can find this for you. Oh, fuck.
I think that's probably the right attitude to have, and it's
right. I've got a video out at the moment about. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I've got a video about being misgendered. I misgender someone at a show, and then someone else calls me racist, and I'm talking about that and apologising at length for all my indiscretions. And the joke for me is I'm just a man just apologising repeatedly, and I called it comedy in 2022, and all the comments, not all of them, sorry, a bunch of them are kind of like, "Oh, never apologize if you misgender. They're just attention seeking." I don't feel like that at all. If I've offended someone or upset someone, I'm going to apologize. I don't want you to feel awful. And if you're a non-binary person or transitioning, you've been dealing with a lot of shit that I couldn't understand your whole life. I don't want to add to it. Why would I make you feel worse, or why would I want to offend you? It's not really in my nature. I'm not trying to be a dick. And also, trans people and non-binary people, the whole thing is about passing. So if you are misgendered, it's actually quite a deep-seated, painful experience, So I'm not here to try and be a dick to anybody.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. Let me see. Oh, God, I think I found it for you. Hang on. Here it is. So I was booked for a show. booked for a show. I won't name the show.
Yeah, you don't need to name names. I mean, you
It's
can
really
if you
fun.
would. Like, if you want to, Joe, it's fine. You can do that. I won't stop you.
I'm building it up now, but you did ask for it. This is a specific example of this exact thing happening, and this was in 2019. So if if fuck's sake, let's find it. This is really not good for a live podcast, is it? Sorry.
So you're
I
leaving
just
me with
realised
dead
that.
air here.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Oh no, fuck! I found it. Here it is. Okay. Hi, Joseph. Apologies in advance for this. So everything was booked.
Right.
Ready to do it.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Joseph. Apologies in advance for this. I've had some further information from the venue. They are actually inclusionist space and specifically want quite a visually diverse lineup for this event. Long story short, they think it's too white. I've never been in this situation before, but if you're available to play on Sunday, April 7th instead, same terms and agreement as before, it allows me to shift some things around to mollify them on this very bizarre request. So that says to me a lot of things. First of all, you can tell from the tone of this person, he thinks it's ridiculous and a load of bullshit. He's called, a visually diverse lineup.
Yeah.
So it's literally just about the visuals and aesthetically, we're seen to be doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's very telling. It's very telling that's what they're saying here, because that's what I seem to see across the circuit and what we were discussing about. It's a very surface level diversity of opinions. It's not, I feel like it lacks a lot of authenticity.
Yeah.
Because you have to see who are the people deciding this, and then you'll find out what you need to know. Because I'm involved in all these different areas like hip hop, comedy, blah blah. And if you want something authentic, you find the true diversity there.
Yeah.
Because they're just working on the craft, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not artificial.
How fucked is it that you could have screen grabbed that email, sent it to GB News, and and the Daily Express or something, and your profile, your Twitter followers? Like, how depressing is it that just the screen grab of that probably would have blown you into a different tier of
it is. It's interesting, but it's not something I really want to be about.
No.
I skirt the edge on these kind of, I played Comedy Unleashed a couple of times, and even doing that a couple of times, it's amazing how it can shift people's perception of you and what you're about.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really like a pro free speech, fucking offend everybody. I'm not really like that. But also I'm not into virtuous pretending to be seen to say and do the right things. I'm not into that either. I'm just a normal person trying to navigate a fucking ridiculous world. That's all I am. And I think there's plenty of humor and mileage in that. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to be saying, oh, look, they're trying to keep down the white man again, motherfuckers. Look at this.
Yeah.
Who cares? There'll be plenty more of that happening.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because it's there's an attraction there for a lot of acts. And again, I'm not going to name names, but we know people in the industry who have built a profile around that kind of personality, around that tabloid frenzy of look, I'm a victim now. I've been oppressed. Look what they said to me on this email. They didn't book me because of my color or my background. And anyway, now come and subscribe to my YouTube and chip into my Patreon and hear about how I'm the last surviving right-wing comedian, etc., etc. And I think maybe there's, it is sort of it's being seduced in a way, isn't it? It's if I follow this, this is getting me loads of attention. So if I just keep riding this train, maybe something big will happen, Yeah,
exactly. And that's what the people that champion do as well, like the diverse voices. They're all doing the same thing and playing the same game, just on a different side, right?
Yeah, I used to sort of marvel at some of the acts that I used to gig with who went on Twitter, got super political, and I realize I'm now kind of describing myself, but they went on Twitter, they got super political, and then the retweets and faves that they got from their political content, I felt like they then mistook that for support for their comedy career. So they'd get 10,000, 15,000 followers, and they'd be because every second or third tweet would be like anti-racism this, Guardian that, HuffPost this, and that would attract the following. And then they would say, by the way, I'm appearing at like, I don't know, Backyard Comedy this week. Like where the fuck is everyone? I thought you all loved my stuff. No, they're just retweeting your Guardian articles and shit. Like,
yeah, though that's something I can see with this newly released clip of mine. Like, I can get attention for something that's seen as controversial or contrarian, even though that wasn't my intention.
Yeah,
and it gets a lot of traction. But I feel like I don't really want these people to like my shit. Some of the people that are kind of like, never apologize, never back down.
Yeah,
fuck these snowflakes. I don't really want you to come to my show if that's what you actually believe. Like, because you seem a bit disturbed if something like that bothers you so much, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's
very seductive, is what I'm saying, to kind of have instant reactions, and that's probably the other reason why I wouldn't have shared that email, because it's like, what am I trying to do out of this, really? It's because it's my own ego. I think, oh, well, this is going to get me fucking seen. This is going to get me some attention. Finally, I'll fucking do it however I can, and this will be it. Because there's nothing worse, man, than actually feeling like a victim. I don't like to feel like a victim. That's why the stuff with the Jewish shit, I never really wanted to be involved in all that stuff. It's not pleasant.
Yeah. I
don't like feeling like that, but I don't really like hypocrisy either. So I had to call out idiots when I see them and then sort of leave it.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want to do. That's all I want to do as a comedian. I never wanted to fucking get on a pedestal, you know, and like tell people you should do this. You need to be more like that. I never do that. Never tell anyone how to live ever.
Yeah.
Do what you want. Just try not to be a cunt. Is that so hard?
Apparently, for a lot of folks. I think it's sort of, you're making the right move, ultimately. I think it's, if actually what you're after is to get really good at the craft, as it were, and you actually really love stand-up and performing and writing, and then going back over what you wrote yesterday and writing into it and creating something that you think that would be really not just funny, but engaging or thought-provoking. Like, if you're actually wrapped up in the creativity of it, then it kind of makes no sense to go chasing after either the far left sort of social justice warrior stuff or the far right oppressed right-wing comedian angle, because actually what you would end up doing is attracting a following, as it sounds like you kind of opened up the risk to. You'd attract a following of people who would come to your show and expect that sort of shit. Like, one of the reasons I love doing a podcast about the topics that I cover in it, whether it is politics or comedy or tech or whatever, is that when I do bump into people who have listened to it or watched it, invariably they're actually pretty sweet. Like, my default reaction is always, this person approaching me is about to punch me in the face because they think I'm a twat. Like, I always that's the baseline. And then when they say like, oh, I watched your thing on TikTok, or I listened to your podcast, I like it's like, oh, cool, okay. And because I'm talking about the stuff that I actually want to talk about, then I kind of know that they're not, I mean, they might still be a twat, but like, it's yet to happen yet.
And isn't that nice? Isn't that a beautiful thing? That's what I'm after, man. When people like what I do, and they just like, because I'm trying to believe in a world where there are just people like me that are normal and quite safe, bit skeptic about certain things, try not to be assholes to everyone.
Yeah.
They got to be out there, right? I don't need to sort of get on a high horse and fucking belittle and shout down other people to get an audience. I don't think that would be the right audience for me. It's not really my style, man.
Well, like I say, like, it's better that you're actually rooted in comedic devices and material and concepts, and then the following that you do build, whether it is grime or comedy or the overlap in between, is invariably going to be the sort of audience that you're actually going to enjoy engaging with. So, anyway,
it's funny, like, I still sometimes get people like come up to me because I do so many different weird things. Sometimes someone might come over to me that likes a really niche thing I'm involved in, like Moose Funk Squad, that little group I'm in with my mates. That's a rap group I do.
All right.
So someone comes over to me and they'll say Moose, and I'll be like, okay, so you listen to Moose. they're not aware that I'm like a stand-up comic or a solo artist. They just know me as some twat that talks about drinking on a fucking moose track.
Do
Anyway.
do you know when somebody starts walking up to you? Do you know if they know you? Like, have you got an instinct like this person knows me from rap or this person knows me from comedy? Is there like a difference?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really happen that often for me to do that, but I mean, you can tell a rap fan really, because they look like a rap fan.
Yeah.
Stink of skunk usually. That'll do it.
Okay, let's do some quick fire questions, Joe, and then I'm going to just say thanks for joining me for this afternoon. And so let's get to it, and then I'll give some links out to people where they can find your stuff. So here we go. Quick fire questions. Number 1. What's the last thing you did that you really wish you didn't?
Had a really spicy meal.
For lunch today?
Not today, the other.
Okay, it's just
I went to this place in Hounslow called Taste of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Because it's had like the most incredible reviews, but it's apparently the rudest staff imaginable and just chaos. And it was all of those things, but the food was incredible. But I did suffer.
Okay, so anyone listening to this, if you'd like to tag them underneath, I'm sure they'd be very thankful for the publicity. Who would you like to play you in a movie?
Me. No, I don't know. How are you supposed to answer that? What is it? Your favorite actor? Someone that looks like you? Like a strange choice?
I guess it's somebody.
And maybe dead.
Yeah, somebody you think looks like you.
Well, people have said I look a bit like fucking guy Kit Harington from Game of Thrones.
Oh
which
yeah,
I'll take.
I can see that. Yeah, that's not bad.
I think I look like Ryan Gosling.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we have a similar aesthetic, so I'd say Ryan Gosling should play me because then we just look so similar.
Yeah. I mean, I get stopped all the time in the high street. People think I'm him. It's getting really annoying now, actually. Okay, what's on your playlist right now? If you pulled out your phone.
Oh, I hope it's nothing embarrassing. You know what? I think
it's like Agadoo.
Actually, I made a good 80s playlist, but I'll tell you something I have been listening to. Something you might not know about me is I really love 90s pop music.
No shit.
Love the 90s pop music. So I saw Crash Test Dummies recently, one of my favorite bands from the 90s. They did like my favorite album came out in 93, same time as Wu-Tang. God Shuffled His Feet. You know Crash Test Dummies? Saw them for the first time in 25 years since their album came out. I went to drive and see them in Nottingham. Incredible show. Loved it.
Really?
And I've just heard today that the Lightning Seeds are releasing a new album in October. They put out a new single, and I love the Lightning Seeds. You know the Lightning Seeds?
Yeah, when you said 90s pop, I assumed you meant like literally 90s pop, a little bit of Britney, Spice Girls, that sort of vibe, but actually it's like 90s indie almost, right?
Yeah, I guess so, but these guys like Lightning Seeds in the 90s, they were dominating pop charts, Pure and Simple, Three Lions, Things Could Be Marvelous, all that shit. They were everywhere in the 90s, right? Yeah. And I love it. Anything that makes me feel like a teenager, I like. Okay. So yeah, I was listening to the new Lightning Seed single, and it's very happy, upbeat. It's great. Big up Ian Brody.
What is an episode of your life that you would donate to a DVD entitled "Times Joe Jacobs Was a Massive Bellend"?
Ooh, that's a bit of a box set you're asking. Times I was a bellend. Oh, man. Jesus, getting me going through the archives now, man. Times I was a bellend. I'm trying to think. Well, like I've realized a lot of my time in the past. I thought I've only come to this realization in the last couple of years, like through a bit of therapy and self-reflection, correct medication. I've realized that I give off terrible vibes, and I thought I gave off great vibes. I thought I was like really positive, life and soul of the party. Everyone wants to hang out with me, hilarious. But I've realized that the opposite is true. And I think now in hindsight, I've looked back on interactions with people and situations I've been in. And because I've been giving out terrible vibes, I've created terrible vibes. And all of these things shame me to this day. I don't know if that answers the question, but
That's pretty, yeah, it's quite crestfallen.
Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're broad words, They're like,
you wanted a funny response, but I was
like terrible vibes and then good vibes are quite broad. But like when you say you give out terrible vibes, do you mean like...
I mean my face.
Right.
I guess my face gives out, like, don't approach me. Like, I'm not as approachable as I thought.
Burst fire hydrant of awfulness.
I guess what I'm getting for is like, I thought I had a lot of charisma. Right. But now I'm realizing I don't have too much charisma. Certainly not as much as I thought I did. And charisma is key in this game. Without charisma...
I was about to say, at least you're not pursuing two different industries that are entirely reliant on your charisma. What's your favourite swear word? Last one.
Favourite swear word? Douchebag.
Wow, it's quite mild.
Cunt.
There we go. Okay.
I feel like I need one more question because I answered the DVD
I've got one more.
Badly.
Yeah. Okay. You've been doing rap for many, many years. I did rap for a little bit. I can still think of some terrible rhyming couplets that I threw together where I'm like, I think that should have made it into the... And now I'm like, actually, no, that was the right decision. I'm glad that I didn't put that into anything. What's your worst rhyming couplet?
Worst rhyming couplet? I mean, I could just go back in time to when I was a garage MC. They're all the worst. Because I was in a crew with my friends. We were like 12 and we called ourselves the Death Row Crew.
Of course.
And it may surprise you to know that none of us were ever like incarcerated.
That is shocking. Yeah.
And I used to say things like, I was back then I was known as the MC Jew, like morning dew, because I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
DEW. So one of my opening lyrics was, MC Dew, the DEW, remember the name and the crew won't trouble you.
Oh. I like the syllable rhyming though. It's strong. It's
Yeah.
You could see those green shoots of musical talent shining through for sure.
Maybe.
Joe Jacobs, this has been lots of fun, mate. It's been really good to catch up again. Guys who have been listening to this, thank you so much. I'll be back next Wednesday for the solo show, and then next Friday night I'll have a guest once again. Don't forget, you can always grab the episodes first on patreon.com/Aid Thompson. And then they go on to Spotify and Apple Podcasts 3 days later. There's also a political blog that comes out on Sunday mornings, and all of those blogs and all of the historic episodes of the podcast are up on the Funk 27 website. Thanks again to my guest this time, Joe Jacobs. Give him a follow on Twitter and Instagram, and definitely go check out Grimefulness on Spotify. All of his other content is at campsite.bio/Jester Jacobs. Thank you once again, Joe.
Thank you, man. This has been a pleasure.
Cheers.
You got a lovely radio voice too.
Thank you. I mean, I've been practicing, so it's no big deal.